Welcome to our show, everyone. I'm Zeeshan Mahmud, your host, and I'll interviewing today Zeeshan Mahmud, our guest. Before we begin, um, if you have any questions, well, this is not live, so it doesn't matter. Anywho, let's get started. Good morning, Mr. Zeeshan Mahmud. Will you be running for president anytime soon? I don't know. I might. I just saw Trump today, and he got my haiku juices flowing and the dopamine flowing. So who knows? I might run against him or in the Republican Party or Democratic Party in 2024. Who knows? Mr. Mahmoud, do you understand what you have to do to be a president? That you have to register and need to have massive funds. You need to have billions. Yeah, I understand, but I don't think that should be that's one of my points when I'll be running. That why should someone need to have bill a massive amount of money to run? Here in the United States, we think we preach and spout and trumpet. Oh, anyone can be president. It doesn't matter who you are. Especially Obama. These people, these people sell the idea that it's like it doesn't matter who you are, prince or pauper. You can come from any background and rise from anywhere, and you can be anyone, and you can be anything, and you can be president, you can be whatever, astronaut or whatever. But all these are fucking bullshit. The way system is set up is the elite rise to the top, and it's all about I'm not it's all about the billionaires and those people with the money and the power who gets to who gets to who has their voice heard. And it's like that's not how is that the system any fair? Well, speaking of which, Mr. Mahmoud, you were not born in this country, right? So, and I also don't think you are you meet the requirement for the age. And that's another thing. Why should it be that one should have to be born in America, like naturally born citizen, or needs to be certain age to run for presidency, right? Like back in the days, the back in the days of, like, I don't know, like King Leopold of Austria or whatever, like people would be like 13-year-old, and they would, like Louis the 13 or whatever, like they, they would they would be running a whole country, an empire, basically. How old was Napoleon when he built his empire? He was like in his 20s, right? Mr. Mahmoud, do you understand? You have to be very articulate, and you cannot just say like whatever and everything when you're running for president. That's true, but then again, I'm not serious about running for presidency, right? It's just a thought. It's just a thought. So, okay, let's come to philosophy. One of your, I guess, strongest points, relatively. Which is actually saying a lot, overstating it. What do you think of the universe? What is the nature of a reality? Well, it could be a variety of things. And I think anything is possible, right? Like, it could be like we could live in infinite parallel universes. One of this is this Earth, this life here on Earth. It could be it's like a brain in a vat, or we could be like the Zhuangzi story where I dreamed I was a butterfly dreaming I'm Zhuangzi. It could be that. Anything could be possible. So it's like a reality is like a probability space, and it's very fluid. It's not like, but the current model that we have, that's not the only model. It's almost like, think of it this way. It's like you are like asking me, okay, what is the right book? What is the only book in the world? Well, there are no only book in the world. There are trillions of books, billions and billions of books in the world. You cannot just say, oh. So similarly, it's like you cannot say the life that we're leading right now is the only reality. How can you be so sure? And then you'll say, but the owner's extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof. But why? Or the onus is on me to prove it, right? But it's not a statement. It's not a statement. I'm not saying that this is it is, but at the same time, like people always say, if you believe in God, the onus is on you to prove it. But I could also say, if you don't believe in God, then it's the onus is on you to prove it. But then you'll say, oh, extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof, which is just like a fucking some fucking maxim out of your ass, which is basically means nothing. I mean, so who said that extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof? Some hack probably came up with it, some skeptic hack, and all suddenly all the sheep started following it. It's like, why should extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof? I can say whatever I want. People can say whatever I want. People can say Earth is flat. People can say Earth is globular. People can say Earth is pear shaped. Earth is like a fucking, it's like a Earth is like a burned diamond. Reality is like a burned diamond. To allude to the Elon Musk story about the women under anesthesia, anything can be anything. But then, Mr. Mahmoud, then wouldn't you say like you're denying the current form of reality? Well, think of it this way. I think Stuart Wilde once mentioned it, and he got it. And I don't know if anyone else thought of it this way except for me. Basically, yeah, it's like a matrix. Like the way the reality works, light bounces off an object and it hits our retina. It goes and which gets transferred to our brain. The light waves, energy, electromagnetic waves, and we perceive reality as it is. But it's a fucking circular process. How do we know in the first place that there's an object, external world, an object exists, and the light bounces off it and hits it? It's like for me to comprehend it, or like just look at around me right now. I'm in a room. I'm standing. I'm walking around, recording this, and I'm perceiving the room, my hand, my own body. But how do I know that I'm perceiving this? My perception is my perception is based on my perception. So what about blind people, right? Blind people, the light doesn't, but well, they have other senses, and it's the same thing. The way it works, reality works like our current model, and this is the basic thing the scientists, idiot, moron scientists, mook scientists don't get it. It's like if a light were to bounce off a rock or a bookshelf and hit my eyes, and I perceive it, I perceive that there's some external world out there exists, but for me to experience that, I have to experience that. It's very difficult to explain, but it's a circular thing. It's like tautology, just like all the systems of logic is tautology. It's everything's tautology. So the only way sometimes people have a breakthrough is they have psychedelics or something, and they get out of the matrix. And you can have minor glimpses of it under cannabis or some other form of drug, like all the women who had it under anesthesia, like reality is burned diamond. And this is the model that scientists believe. The science, you open up any children's book, science, oh, light bounces off the object and hits our eyes and we perceive it. But how do you know there is an object in the first place? Because the light bounced off the object and hit our eyes. So how do you know that exists in the first place? It's almost like a brain in a vat almost. So we could very well be like this brain, we don't have a body, and it could be in a vat somewhere out there, like a matrix, and we're perceiving this world like a video game. Yeah, that's another way to explain it, like to think about it, like if you wear a virtual reality helmet, how do you know that the world exists? Well, because we're wearing a helmet, right? Okay. Mr. Mahmoud, what about ethics? You talked about ethics, morality, values, right versus wrong. What do you think of those? Again, it's subjective. I do think it's subjective, but it's also the same thing. It's objective. See, people have hard time, you know, accepting contradictions, or that they have this gotcha game. But I could very well say in the morning I love ice cream, and in the evening I say I hate ice cream. It's like it could be very well, yeah, and that's a perfectly valid contradiction. But some people get it's like a Necker cube. That's a hard word to pronounce. It's like a cube that sometimes looks like it's projecting upwards or projecting downwards, or even better, the rabbit versus or rather the old woman young woman illusion. Those are contradictions kind of, but they're both valid at the same time. So from a higher perspective, all contradictions can be valid. It's just like if you're down in the if you're at the mountain at the bottom of the mountain, you think that there's a different perspective than from a center of a cone, which has an all encompassing view from where like the Nasiruddin Hoja thing becomes true, where like where they can appreciate how a defendant can be true, the attorney can be true, the judge can be true, everyone can be true. It's like I can say reality is this, and I can say reality is not this, and it could very well be reality is this and not this. Or okay, I don't know, or like I don't know, hologram. Like if reality is like a hologram, then many points become meaningless. It's like if we all say, oh, it's some esoteric religious people, mystics, in branches of mysticism, there's no reality, all is light, and if we assume that all is light, then a lot of concepts that we hold dear falls apart. Like there's no mass, there's no volume, there's no space, there's no time. It's almost like we're literally like light, like we're literally like sort of thin air, like nothing basically. And it's like, and that's, Buddhists talk about form is emptiness, emptiness form. It's almost like everything is the concept. Imagine concept of nothingness, or like a potter who makes even the it's like, Mr. Mahmoud, you do realize that if you keep stuttering like that and balking and start doubting yourself, and if you're not confident about the stance, and that's another thing. Oh, I'll cut you right there. Hold on. Let me finish. What do you mean? Why does someone have to be very? You can be a slick, polished talker, but you can doesn't you end up saying shit. All my thoughts are original in the sense I'm not parroting on any other. Look at all the YouTube videos. All of them, they're like parroting other people, and they're just making videos just for the sake of, they're just I can just anyone can do that. Anyone can take a like Gödel's incomplete theorem, Einstein relativity. You're not saying shit. You just want to make money. You want to put it and monetize it, and you basically just take some random concept and you think you're enlightening people. But anyone can fucking go ahead in the library or like Wikipedia and just fucking study it. You're not contributing to anything. And all this and YouTube is rampant. 90% of the videos are rampant with these kind of videos. There are very, 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 very few people who actually expressing what they really want to express, like the original thoughts. Like Alan Watts is one of them. Terence McKenna is one of them. Most people are just parroting other people, and they make all these cutesy, polished, graphics, video, but you're just parroting, regurgitating other things. You're just like Good Will Hunting. It's like it's like that scene, the bar scene. It's like, oh, at least I won't be unoriginal. It's like, at least I won't be flipping burgers. But you get what my point. And I'm getting rattled up and getting carried away. Okay, Mr. Mahmoud, slow down. I apologize if I offended you. And that's another thing. Yes? Everyone is offended by everything nowadays, right? So Eminem said it best. I find you offensive for finding me offensive. So when you say you're offended, that I got offended, I'm offended by the fact that you think that I'm got offended. Okay, Mr. Mahmoud, moving on. Is there anything else you'd like to say? Forget about me interviewing you. How about if you interview you? So it's like almost like graph. Imagine there are 2 points. A is myself. B, the point is myself. So B is interviewing himself, which is me, which you want, and then A is interviewing B, but A is B. Okay. I'm running out of questions, Mr. Mahmoud. Ideas. But on the topic of philosophy, you recently made a video about murders, like the morality of murder, psychology, the morality of the ethics of murder. Do you believe killing is wrong? What do you believe? Again, people are so wrapped up in all this thought. What do you believe? Like when the candidates run, uh, when the candidate run or presidency, it's like, people say, oh, he was Kerry. John Kerry was Was it Kerry? I think it was Kerry. Like he was a flip flopper. What's wrong with being flip flopper? Being a flip flopper, like flip flopping on our ideas, like. That's flexibility. If some people see in America, we have this idea. Oh, I'm right no matter what. I'll beat you down, dominate you, and I'll voice out my opinion no matter what till I die. I'll hold on to it. But why can't people admit that they were wrong at one stage? Earlier views they had that could have been incorrect. It takes a great man to admit that they were wrong in the stance they held. They were wrong. So other than that, why is it? Why does one have to adhere to some beliefs like staunchly? Like issues like gun control or like other border issues. Yeah, like people have like in the way the politics work is like you're either this or that, black or white. You're like football team, you're either this that. But why? There are a lot of nuanced issues, and that's the problem with all these parties. You're either Republican or you're Democrat. But see, you could like majority of the people in the world, like when the Trump debated Biden, there was the Zoom interview and there were like 40 people. Most of them were undecided. 20, 30 people, they're undecided and they had mixed views, and that's how people works. And maybe if you're all you out of your mixed views, if majority tends to fall under some category, like you don't see candidates going to the podium and say, yeah, marijuana or like whatever crime or gun control, like they don't offer both perspective. There was a Roman philosopher, I forget his name. um oh god, so basic, I forgot his name. So he one day he came to the town and vociferously argued for for a point of view, right? Next day he came back and he argued, and I think Carneades, I think probably, and he argued against it, and and that shows that you can appreciate both point of views, and you can weigh both of them, and you can argue like an expert lawyer. You can argue for it or against it, whenever, however you feel like. But most people think that you should have to like adhere to some rigidly to some substance, some value, some way of thinking. But most people are not like that, and that's why no wonder the politics is so fucked up. It's like so bipolarizing. Okay, Mr. Mahmoud, what would you say is the purpose of life, meaning of life? Well, it's no secret that I have a video out on Alan Watts. It's like the meaning of life is to be alive, and yeah, it's like people get worked up just huffing and puffing and rushing to get somewhere. So I do strongly believe that like there is no like template, or not template, like some instruction out there in the sky that you should live this way. But most people assume and operate from that point of view, like they're as if you're supposed to live in a certain way. Heck, you can do whatever you want. It's like no one's judging you. People think some guy will be judging you like for the life you lived. No one gives a shit. God doesn't give a fucking rat's ass flying fuck how you live your life. You can be Elon Musk, fucking the most popular person, most genius person in the world, whoever. He doesn't give a flying fuck. Or you can be the heinous person in the world like Hitler. He doesn't give a flying fuck who you are. Because ultimately, I do believe, conceptually, I agree. Get it. I integrated it, even though I don't have direct experience, but we are all one, and Atman and all this bullshit, like everything is one, la di da di da da, like God is in everything, God is energy, God is pure love, blah blah blah. So once if you have that axiom as the starting point, then all these things make sense. If you start off like a philosophical mathematical axiom that all is one is all, or like if you start off with the first axiom as a contradiction or catch-22 paradox, if you make paradox your foundation, which is a murky foundation, like a chaotic foundation, and it might seem that nothing's gonna stand on its head, But that becomes a solid reasoning. Like yes is no, no is yes. And of course that kind of branches out to, as I was saying, like in one of my videos, like about Graham Priest, who talked about what was it, the logic which accepts a logic of